Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I was getting really excited about the topic of this vlog and I lined my lips by mistake with the eyebrow pencil, so my face looks a bit funny. I hope it does not bother you, and if it does in any sense, just shut the video and listen to what I'm about to say. Yesterday I went to this event called Arte Contemporáneo y Redes, Actores, Canales y Estrategias. I'm sorry for my accent. It's basically quite self-explanatory. It's contemporary art and networks, actors, channels, and strategies. It's actually a presentation of a book under the same title, which is downloadable for free at Ecosystem of Art website, ecosistemadearte.com. When I found out about this event, I was so excited, so I rushed into the place without even reading the book. Also because the book is written in Spanish. If I have to read the book in Spanish, it would take me so much longer and I would miss this event completely. So I just went there and listened to what they speak about their research. I have to say that I really liked this topic and I totally think what they did about this research is relevant. However, I completely disagree what they said about those certain relevant topics. In this 90 minutes conference, the speakers disclosed the findings of their research and discussed two topics in depth. One, how social media help art influencers promote themselves. Two, how art professionals deal with their social responsibilities. First, I want to talk about the social media and art influencer part. So they were talking about how Twitter helped museums to promote their programs and how artists could become influencers online regardless of their age. However, they did not use any real examples of influencers online. And I really wondered, what does art influencer mean in their opinion, because they did not really discuss it in their speech. How about 10,000? Does it qualify? And 100,000 perhaps? If you reach the bar, how about 1 million? Too bad there's no Q&A session for me to ask those questions myself to the authors. So I thought, oh, perhaps they are influencers themselves, so they don't have to talk about such basic topics. So I went on their Instagram of the three co-authors as well as the project page. And the total number of Instagram followers of those four accounts are 5,009 followers. And I thought, okay, perhaps in the book it's written about art influencers and how to get there and how you define it and how everything works. So I downloaded the ebook and I read it through this morning and I found what is slightly bothering me. There was not a single number about any stats, about anything. The only number they mentioned is the year, like 2017. There isn't really more numbers. There's not one single pie chart or bar chart, and I was quite bothered. If you don't talk about numbers when you talk about digital influence, then what are you really talking about? It made me look back. When I was studying at a Department of Art History in the University of Sydney, my professors did teach us how to draft a curatorial plan and how to basically run this business, but without teaching us how to use numbers. The only numbers involved in my assignments, which actually passed their criteria, is the size of the canvas of artist I plan to exhibit. There isn't more numbers anticipated, and that was okay. But when I, on the other hand, went to business school, the things were completely different. Not only in class we were talking about numbers all the time, but also even off class when we were having small talks among students. Like one classmate would come up to me and say, hey, what was the ROI of your last investment? And I was like, I don't know, like 12%. And then he was like, wow, that's great. Like, is that even legal? And I was like, come on, it's just a number. We are so much more than just numbers, and numbers doesn't matter. That's what I thought when I was studying business. But of course, there is a middle point. Perhaps you can use numbers as a reference, but you don't have to get obsessed over the numbers. But ever since I arrived in Europe and started working with fine art professionals in Europe, I really got disturbed by the sense of absence of numbers and stats. In one of the business projects I did at school, my mentor asked me to supply with some numbers to justify my project. When I was doing research, the only thing I could find about numbers are the Hiscox and Art Price annual report on the art market. Nothing else. There isn't really much numbers about the culture industry, the survival, of artists and art projects, and not in a European level, neither on a local level. The only report I could find that is relevant, reflecting the lives of the artists, the report written by BFA, MFA, PhD website. And the numbers are frightening. It's said that only 10% of art graduates would ever make a primary living from art in the USA. And almost 4 out of 5 artists who make a living are white, Caucasian. I don't know if there's another way to say it more polite, but it's what it's written, and that's a very frightening number. And perhaps that is why they don't want to talk about numbers in the art industry, and perhaps it's simply very difficult to obtain those numbers. But when you talk about social influence online, it's very easy to access those numbers. It's a lot easier than in the past, where you have to do a nationwide survey that's update every 10 years. But now you can see real time online the numbers of followers of a certain influencer and the web traffic of a museum. You can have this information quite easily. And we can talk about click-through rate, page traffic, retention, so on and so forth, relying on the numbers. I went to talk to one of the participants of this event, half joking, and I said, look, we are a room full of people, and if you add everybody's Instagram follower, we wouldn't amount a million, like including my 45,000, we wouldn't reach a million, we wouldn't even reach 100,000 at all in this conference. And we are talking about using social media to improve, to boost our online presence, as artists and art professionals. Why don't we just use this time to go to Udemy or Skillshare and learn how to improve our online presence? And I was told, oh, you don't know, like you're young people, you don't know. There are a lot more presence than online presence, like the good old offline presence of the art industry. For example, there was a big collection arriving from overseas to Spain, and the King of Spain welcomed this collection personally, and that's like a big influence offline. And the art influence are mainly offline because it's quite late for it to convert to digital. It really got me thinking, you don't get elected to be the king, right? You get elected to be the president, and perhaps, but not the king. If you're the king, it means you were really lucky. You were born in a privileged family, and you were able to take the throne and hold on to it. And that's achievement, because not everybody could do that. It also means that it's not exactly democratic, because a king's throne is not or has never been the most democratic part of our history. So if you associate the art presence with the king, are you associating contemporary art or modern art? Are you associating fine art with the elite class, with the dictatorship, or with the born privilege? I believe if you're watching this video, probably you are an emerging artist struggling to make a living from art, or you are a young project like us struggling to make a more permanent social presence online. And I guess you're not born in a super privileged family like the king did. If you want to have a chance to make it in art, I guess number one is we have to make this environment more friendly, more accessible, and more equal. And in order to do that, the first thing I would say is to use numbers, online or offline, but use numbers instead of social power. Because you can't really quantify the king's power in numbers, Okay, if he has an army and have a direct command of this army, perhaps you can, but usually you cannot, right? Is the hard, soft social power is the power of oppression. And if you want to make it in art, we need to make the art as industry very open and very accessible and very fair. Like if you could compete as an Olympic athlete by numbers, if you run fast enough, you jump high enough, you throw this metal ball long enough, far away enough, you could win an Olympic medal, regardless if you're born in a rich or poor family. And I think if we start using numbers to evaluate art, that's the number one step, that's a baby step we could make towards the equality in the society. The second topic I want to talk about is social responsibility, which has been mentioned several times throughout this event. They also invited a local politician, I believe is a mayor, who is involved in cultural events to talk about how art and culture enrich people's lives. But what exactly is social responsibility? Let's look at the definition. Social responsibility is a duty every individual has to perform so as to maintain a balance between the economy and the ecosystems. I like how they choose to talk about ecosystems instead of economy, as they don't want to talk about numbers. I totally agree, on this approach. If they don't have numbers, they can talk still about ecosystems. And it really ties in with their name of the project, which is the Ecosystems of Art. Social responsibility on the individual level, in my experience, is the 0.5% I pay on the income tax. Every taxpayer and company in Spain must dedicate a certain percentage of their income tax to dedicate to either the church or an NGO. So that's a social responsibility. You can choose between the two. Well, there are not many choices, but I guess it's fair for everyone to have to choose between two of them. And for companies, they must dedicate a certain percentage of their revenue on cultural activities, social activities, and they call it obra social. And many banks are investing in culture centers and museums that is completely open for free to the public. Now, this is a good thing. And if you want to donate more of your income to the culture and art and other social causes, you can very well do that. But there is a minimum quantifiable social responsibility for each taxpayer in this country. And the more I earn, the more I pay this part, the more I contribute to the social responsibility. Like the superhero movie said, no power comes with no responsibility. More power comes with more responsibility. And I guess you can say the same about everybody, including fine art professionals. The more they earn, the more they could potentially contribute to the society as a part of their social responsibility. A part willingly, even a part obligated. But to my surprise, I met many fine art professionals in Europe. They have a strange belief. They believe that if they are doing cultural activities and spending taxpayers' money, they are doing a great social responsibility, because they are spending this money on art which other people couldn't or don't know how to. It's true that they are doing great stuff, very creative, very interesting, a very important part of the cultural and social life, and even an important part of GDP. However, they are just executing other people's social responsibility when they are spending the public money. It's not their social responsibility. Their social responsibility is the 0.5% they must pay in their income tax. Or if they want to donate, they donate. That's the part of their social responsibility. And for those who get public money to do art projects, it's called a job. It's called a profession. Of course, I'm not asking fine art professionals to do it for free. I'm just saying that because you're doing great stuff, creative stuff, interesting stuff, that does not put you on a high moral ground. It's the same when a cleaning lady, when a street builder, when a maintenance personnel, when they are doing their job, they are also a professional. And that's not different in art. I just simply believe that being creative and doing artistic stuff, that is good for you, you feel good about it, you're proud of what you do, and that's enough. You don't need to justify it by saying that doing art has more social responsibility than other jobs. Ask a taxi driver, ask a street cleaner, ask a facility manager. They are just doing their job and they're happy with what they do, like you are. We don't have to hold this universally recognized standard of goodness. That's too heavy to hold. I wouldn't want to hold it on my own shoulder. And why can't we just enjoy what we do and go home, satisfied and happy from a whole day work? We don't need inflated self-assessment to enjoy what we do. Thank you for staying with me this far. I feel a lot better now after talking with you. Now I'm going to remove the eyebrow pencil from my lips, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.